Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Thaddeus Mitchell podcast. Today, I want to go over how men in the West are being emasculated and how men can actually become anything that they want. I think this is a really important topic, just given all of the stuff happening in the society that we live in here in the West. And so I wanted to address a few things and really get some deeper dives into the underlying structure of what exactly is it that men are being emasculated for. And so the first thing is that men are being told that they cannot be men. And I was thinking about this and I was like, well, is there a society that has ever thrived with weak men? Obviously not, that I can think of. There's no possible scenario where now you can have strong women and weak women in a society and thrive either way, it seems to me. But, well, maybe not with weak women, but if you have strong men and weak women, there's a possibility for success. But if you have weak men and strong women, I don't think I've ever seen a society where that's worked. Now, that could be a potential outcome for the future. Who knows? But do you really want to live in a world where there's only strong women and weak men, or do you want strong men and strong women? And oftentimes in society, we've heard terms like toxic masculinity floating around, or just anything that has to do with the word like toxic masculinity encompassed in the same sphere or that same vortex. And what I want to say is that masculinity nor femininity is toxic in themselves, but how they are expressed, that's something completely different. I suggest, rather than terms like toxic masculinity or toxic femininity, I suggest that we use terms like false competence or weaponized care. And the solution to getting out of these terms or just creating something better is to be anti-fragile. And this goes for anybody, men and women. People should be anti-fragile with anyone that tries to shame you so that they can try to control you. Just get those people out of your life. Get them out. It does not matter what kind of past that you've had with them. I know that can be difficult for some people to hear, but I've had points in my life where I had to let people go because they were trying to emotionally and covertly control me, and I wouldn't stand for it. I stood up for myself and I was degraded for it. But that's just kind of a thing that happens when you stand up for yourself sometimes. Sometimes having self-respect, when people don't have that same kind of self-respect, they see you as a threat. So with that, that brings us to the next phase, which is men with high testosterone are more likely to speak out against authority. And when there's less high testosterone men, there's also a less likelihood of anybody challenging authority. So, for example, in a study at University of Pennsylvania in 2018, they were doing a study on higher testosterone levels in men. Regardless of actual status, the higher testosterone levels increased a likelihood of positive mood among all of the people in the study. And the goal of the study was to disentangle power from status, because some people can have a lot of power but little status, and vice versa. And I did leave a link here in the video for the viewers that are, well, for the people that are actually viewing the podcast, it's there, but I'll leave it in the description for those that are just listening. So also, telling somebody no can actually be a good indicator on realizing what the other person really wants from you, and noticing when people try to plant seeds of self-doubt. This is also known as gaslighting. That's a term for another day, but when standing up for yourself, remember that the word no is actually one of the most important things that you can say. Because if you can walk away knowing that you'll be okay, that is self-respect, and you do not have to feel bad about doing that. For the longest time, up until about 2 years ago, I thought that not being able, like not walking away and like being loyal to somebody no matter what was so important. But in reality, I just didn't want to let go of my illusions of what I had in the relationships that I was in. And I guess this was about 3 years ago too, is when this really started to happen. But I guess more consciously it started to happen. But again, telling somebody no, that's the most important thing that you can say when you're realizing if this person is really after like your best self-interest, or if they're trying to get something from you. And the next phase is low attention spans, no ability to focus on long-term goals, and that men also have higher suicide rates. So again, I've left a couple different links here for the viewers, and I'll also leave a link, or the two links here in the description below, because I think that these statistics are really important to just know about in general. But to me, low attention spans equate to people being really distracted. And when people are really distracted, they can become psychologically neutered. And that goes for men and women in general, but this message itself is more directly related to men for this purpose, because men, when you don't have a long-term goal that you can focus on, you become impulsive. And when you become impulsive, you become really aimless. And that's just not good for you. That's not good for anybody around you. It's just not good in general. And it's really important to have at least an aim, no matter what. Just even if it's just getting out of bed and making your bed first thing in the morning, not hitting the snooze button. Those are great starts. But with that, men are 3.88 times more likely to commit suicide than women in the U.S. as of 2020, according to a study in the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Again, I'll leave the link below as well, but the link is there on the screen. And also around the world, men are approximately 2 to 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women. In the Our World in Data website, where you can actually see a table or a graph of data based off of like which countries have which suicides for males and females. And I mean, I was just scrolling through, and almost every single time I didn't actually see one country in just the skimming that I did where there was any females that are more likely to commit suicide than males. Now, that'll be something to look further, like more into detail with, but my focus was more on the US for this video because I wanted to focus on, just our own community. I'm from the US, and I want to help people that are within the community that I live in, because I know that we have to start somewhere, and that'll have to be within our communities. So in other words, a large proportion of men are losing their will to live around the world, and specifically in the US. And this is something that I'd like to change. I don't want anybody to lose their will to live. I want everybody to thrive. So my message to men, this is my last slide here on the video, it is that men can become anything that they want. And one of the best things about being a man is that you can become anything. You don't have to have material goods or material wealth in order to live a happy life. Now, I'm not saying that wealth and material things cannot get you to certain places where you can feel elevated because of the possibility of that kind of freedom. But when you can be really okay with minimalist mindsets and minimalist goals, I don't think that there's anything more fundamental to success than that. I mean, if you think about like all the people that are successful in the world, like Jeff Bezos, for example, he was sleeping under his desk for the first like year or so of, maybe even longer, of his time building Amazon. He was so committed to that goal that he was willing to sacrifice almost everything for that. Like, he was sleeping at his office. Then you have people like David Goggins, who is a Navy SEAL. He came from nothing. He came from a horrible background, and he's very open about this. And something that I learned from him is that even when you come from the shittiest places, you can still be anything that you want if you work hard enough. And so also learning how to treat trauma as a tool and not a hindrance, because as men, I don't think this is something that women understand about men. And I'm not saying that women are stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying that we're different in regards to like where our value is determined. Women, because of their beauty, have an intrinsic value to some degree. Men don't have that. Men have to make something of themselves in order to be valuable. This is something that I've witnessed after the last 3 years of just weeding people out, seeing people that are just, as Andrew Tate would say, broke as a joke. They're just broke as a joke, and they're not dedicated to anything. They're repressing their emotions. They don't give a crap. They really just don't have a drive or a fire in their belly. And so it's like, what is the point of being around people like that if you actually want to get somewhere? If you want to be an emperor of humankind, not just because you want to control people, but because you want to actually make a positive change and the greatest possible impact on the world in a positive light that you can, what are you doing being around those people? And honestly, in my experience, it's better to be alone than it is to deal with those kinds of people, because they're just going to try to drag you down. They don't like seeing you actually trying to be better, which is really funny because it's like you can do the same thing. Like you can do anything that you want to do, man. Like, don't get mad at somebody just because they're trying to make something of themselves. But, that's just the way the world works sometimes. But along with that, wanting to please anyone or gain approval so that you can be a man is not going to help anyone. And it's really just not manly in general. It's ugly, to be quite honest. Like, it's just ugly to do that. And I was like that for a long time. The term now would just be simping, I guess you could say, is like the modern term. But like I was trying everything I could to try to fit into your world. So much so that I forgot that I was also living in my own world too. And I would reject my own needs for the sake of trying to please somebody else. And I am so happy and so pleased to say that I do not do that anymore. And I'm doing my best each day to make sure that I'm still caring about other people and I still want other people to succeed. But at the end of the day, I'm looking out what's best for me. And yeah, no, I'm not perfect, but at least I'm trying to do something better than I was yesterday and be something better than I was yesterday. And so finally, this is from 1 Corinthians 16:13 through 14. It says, "Watch ye, stand fast in the faith. Quit you like men. Be strong. Let all your things be done with charity." I think what this is really saying is that when you choose to become strong, you are naturally going to give what you can authentically, and you are not going to give too much of yourself away because you know that you stand in faith of something higher than you. And that faith in something higher than you gives you something to stand on and to be like a rock, or to lean on the rock of Christ. And with that, I just want to say I love all of you, and I really hope the best for all the men out there. I know that it can be kind of a rough turn when everything is opaque and blurry in the world right now, and there's not a lot of clarity. But I do hope that this message was informative and gives you some direction of some kind. With that, I hope you all have a blessed day. Till next time.